guys, working on my 2005 Duramax LLY. The issue that I'm going to go over today is replacing a fuel injector. In a previous video I talked about replacing a fuel pressure regulator, and the root cause of all these replacements I think is due to this injector now. Before I thought it was the fuel pressure regulator. Long story short, the truck, when it's in drive but stopped at a stoplight, it was running really rough, smoking a lot, and the pressure, the fuel oil pressure, was bouncing all over the place. The command was set at one point, but the fuel oil pressure is going all over. So typically that is a fuel pressure regulator, and I monitored with a Tech 2. It seemed like everything that points to a fuel pressure regulator was true, so I replaced that, and it did not fix the issue. I think that was a secondary issue with the fuel system in the truck. It probably needed to be replaced. That fuel pressure regulator, it needed to be replaced anyways because it was bouncing so much. But I'm still having the same symptoms of smoking at a stop in drive, but the fuel pressure is staying constant. So I looked at other parameters in the Tech 2, and one of the injectors is like way off. It's, I think, plus 10, plus 11, sometimes went up to plus 15, especially when you're like in drive stopped. So but just idling, not in drive, it was like plus 10, plus 11. And my understanding about how the fuel system works, it's all interconnected. So there's other injectors that are also high in the pluses and high in the minuses for fuel balance rates, but they're compensating for other injectors. And typically, or often, what happens is like one really bad injector causes the other ones to overcompensate and also show bad injector rates. So my thinking right now is the primary root cause of this whole issue is a bad injector, possibly multiple, but I'm going to start with the one bad injector that is causing my issue in my particular truck. So on mine, it is injector number 4, and the firing order for these Duramaxes, it starts at the front passenger side, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and keeps going. So the fuel injector number 4 is, I started to take this apart, but it's beneath this this bracket here, which holds all these connectors, and you can kind of see it down there. That's where my middle finger's pointing. It's down there, that injector. So, or it's actually way down there. So so yeah, the process of getting to this, I just wanted to show where I'm at so far. I just started taking it apart. You just have to kind of move around things. I had to disconnect this pipe here, but so far I'm getting to it. I watched some other videos. I'm not going to show every single detail, filming the whole entire process, but I'll show you what I found in terms of maybe some unique challenges that other videos don't point out. I guess so far everything's been pretty standard. The only, I guess, kind of specialty is a torque spit. It's not really specialty, but something a little different. And that was holding some of these connector brackets on these torque spits. But I'm going to continue on, and I'll keep filming what I find is somewhat challenging or different. So alright, so I got the injector out. I'll show you the process that I went through to get it out, and some of the challenges, I guess, and the just special stuff you got to do to get the number 4 injector out. I think it's pretty common for all of them, but for this particular one, there's a couple, I guess, unique things. So first, like I showed before, the connectors are out, and that bracket that holds all these connectors are out of the way, so you have access. The First thing is the main fuel line that goes from the rail, the fuel rail back here, to the injector. That requires a crescent wrench, 17 millimeter. So I just bought that at like Harbor Freight. I got a whole kit for I think $14. It's not a common tool, so I don't really care what brand it is myself. But let's see. But yeah, this is the fuel line. It was really hard getting these out. It just took a lot of force, so just be wary of that. Probably won't break it. I was afraid I would, but something would break or something, but it was fine. The next thing was the return line, which is here. It's plastic, if you can see that. That plastic return line goes into the top of the injector, and I was warned in other videos that it might break, and it did. It goes right here on the top side of the injector. So I bought another return line, which is in the mail right now. Should be arriving today. I just bought it just in case, and luckily I did. Let's see. This is the hold down clamp, which connects here on the injector. The bolt was easy to get out. You just have to kind of just gain access. So I had to remove the pipe that goes from up top down to here, and these hold down clamps, there's one on each side of the injector. This is for the glow plugs. Just had to remove those clamps just so I could wiggle wires around to gain access back there to the injector. So the hard part for getting the injector out was it was like kind of stuck in there, so I had to use a crowbar, kind of curved like this, and I was able to get it up some by using just the crowbar, and then I ended up using a rebar to go between this clamp and the motor. So the crowbar only could get so far by itself, and I just needed to add something else between this hold down clamp and the engine, and then I used the pry bar again, and that was enough to force the injector up. So this is the old injector. It's very crappy looking. The O-ring seal is kind of still intact. Well, not really actually, now that I look at it. And the tip of the injector is very dirty. It's very small holes at the tip of the injector, so just that little amount of dirtiness was enough to clog it up and get those bad balance rates. I think the last thing is the bore where the injector sits needs to be clean. You can see that first lip. I'll try to point to it right now. There's a lip in here where my screwdriver is. That's where your O-ring sits, and all around on before you get into that bore, there's all this dirt, so you just have to very carefully remove the dirt around and the dirt that gets within. I shined my phone down and did a video with light on, and I try to clean the debris as much as possible with like paper towel, just wrapping it up kind of in a long strand and then putting it down there very carefully, not to induce more debris down there. I got as much as I could out of the bottom, but you can tell there's almost like a indentation or a different color where the copper O-ring sits, and that's the main thing, is just making sure where the copper O-ring sits is clean. And this will, since it's copper, it'll compress and it'll create a good seal by itself, but you just want to make sure it's clean as possible without getting debris down there. So I'm going to put it back together, and I'm going to see how that return line is to put in the new one. I'm not sure how that's going to work out yet, but I'll show how that works in my case. So I'm at the point of putting in or removing the old plastic return lines and putting in the new ones. So this is the new kit, which goes along the cylinders kind of like this. This offshoot, well, I guess there's 4 nipples that go to each injector on this bank, and then this offshoot goes back into wherever it goes. Kind of back here, I took off this block, this electrical block, and it goes kind of down under it. You have enough access, you can just pull it off that nipple. Hopefully you can see that. There's a nipple back there under this electrical box that you can, it pulls off. But the pain in the ass part about this job is getting out the old nipples from the top of the injectors. So you can see that one back there. I just pulled this one out. It was an absolute bear. So I just want to show quick, because I know this is going to help someone. And so when you pull out the injector, you want to be, or the return line nipple here, you want to be as careful as possible. Let me try to get the camera right. So this, you can see there's like two parts that I'm going to talk about. So there's this O-ring part, which is where you want it to break. It's going to break either way probably, so you want it to break near the O-ring part. And there's also this part kind of up here, which is like the wider section, and I had 2 break at the O-ring and I had 2 break at this wider section. So if it breaks at the O-ring, you can use a pick. I use kind of like this small style pick, and you're able to get the O-ring out from the injector, the top of the injector. And once you do that, below the O-ring, it's kind of like loose in there, and you're able to kind of pick it out with that pick. And it's still difficult, but it's not as bad as when it breaks up here. So when it breaks up here, I'll show you. I still have to do one more. Let's see. This is kind of going upside down, but you can see it's broken kind of flush with the top of that rusty section where that return line goes in. So when that happens, you can't just pick out the piece. I actually had to use a drill for that back one. I had to go in at an angle, which was I did not like doing that at all. I was afraid I was gonna break something, but I used like a reverse drill. I think the size, yeah, screw extractor. The size was a 3/16 to a quarter. It gets bigger the more you go up. So I ended up just carefully extracting at least the top section of that. Let's see, I'm trying to get this here. The top section of this nipple, and once that was extracted, the O-ring was still there and the bottom piece was still there. So once I extracted it, you need to be really careful with getting debris into the injector. So when I extracted it, I used a small shop vac with a small, actually it's my house vac, a small diameter opening, so you could really get in there and suck out all the junk. And then I picked out the O-ring, picked out part of the bottom of the nipple, and then used a shop vac again to make sure, no debris was in there, and then I took my phone with the light on, shined down in there to make sure that there's nothing in there. So it was an absolute pain, really stressful part, because I did not want to have to replace that injector, which was unnecessary. That was actually the best performing injector. So stressful to say the least, but now I learned, and hopefully you learned through me. But now I got to do this one last one. Hopefully I have enough tool clearance with my drill for the first cylinder, which is cylinder number 2 technically in the firing order. But I'll get that one out, put it back together, and then let you guys know how it goes. So I put the injector together, return lines together, started it up. The truck seems to run correctly now, so I think we are all set. So I'm gonna monitor it as I go, and I'll put in the comments if anything changes.